Hi, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Dan Scoff in the Weather Lab. Wanted to provide an update on this storm that's moving towards the Fort Smith area. It's in northern Lafleur County, southern Sequoia County, in eastern Oklahoma. And this storm is making its way eastward. In fact, you can see it behind me. We got two radars here showing the exact same thing. Let me go ahead and bring up on Weather 2. We'll go ahead and we'll bring up a look at our WeatherBug Network camera from Kisser FM, Dripping Springs. You can actually see the storm kind of off in the distance just a little bit. Had a little bit better of a view of the lowering, but has since turned a little bit cloudy and pretty hard to see with the contrast. So let's take a look, first of all, at we'll look at Max 1. This will be a look at Mega Doppler, and the hail core has decreased in size, so it's gotten a little bit smaller. This hail core not nearly as big as it was. You'll notice here that storm is starting to dissipate a little bit. And so that's good news. Now, sometimes that hail core looks like it's actually dissipating, but in fact, it's not because the storm has weakened. So stand by here in just a second. And we'll take a look here at, let's see real fast. Okay, stand by. All righty. Just got to do something here real quick. So again, if you're just joining us, we have a severe thunderstorm warning that continues in the River Valley. We'll take a detailed look at this. This is a storm that's moving closer to Fort Smith, southern Fort Smith, going to experience a little bit of a hail core. This is, by the way, a storm that just did not stop. It's continued to remain severe and had it maintained its strength. It's been severe over the last several hours. And in fact, earlier, just a little before 4 o'clock, prompted a tornado warning that was located in eastern Oklahoma, just a little bit west of Sequoia County. Again, so we'll take a look here at what we've got here with Hall Heating Cooling Mega Doppler. Here you'll see the thunderstorm that is severe, and the hail core has gotten a lot less, but we'll zoom way in on this, and we'll show you that just to the east of Fort Coffee is where that hailstorm is located. And hail core also right along the Arkansas River. Now, the circulation is not existent anymore, so you don't really have to worry about tornado potential. That's pretty much a thing of the past. Some strong gusty winds, though, so we're talking 60 miles per hour winds, also quarter-size hail possible. Now, before, I'll show you as we go back in time and look at the hail core, too. You'll see the size of the hail was quite a bit larger at this point when it was just to the west of Fort Coffee. In fact, it had hail up to the size of potentially golf balls. So this is when it was about golf ball size hail just to the north of Collington, south of Tucker. And this was a little after 6 o'clock in the evening, or 5 o'clock in the evening, excuse me. So here you see 6 o'clock. At about 6:04, that hail core started to pop up. And then that's why they had a considerable severe thunderstorm warning on it. So I said 5 o'clock. I meant 6 o'clock, though. 6 o'clock Central Daylight Time. And then you can see that storm starting to dissipate. But still, it just doesn't stop. It still remains its severe intensity, and this is going to be moving into the Fort Smith area here shortly. Again, we've got some cameras on this that we could take a look at. We got our WeatherBug Network camera at Kisser FM. Saw a little bit of lightning off in the distance. You can see a little bit of light rain. Now, this is pointed to the southwest. So a little bit of structure. You can even see a little bit of what we call a shelf cloud along the leading edge of it, which means it's basically outflow dominant. And that's why that tornado potential is non-existent. If we look at our Fort Smith Public Library camera, this is looking off to the west. Rain is beginning to move into Fort Smith and Van Buren. Not necessarily severe there at the moment because this severe thunderstorm warning only includes, as you saw, eastern Sequoia as well as northeastern Lafleur County. So those are the only two areas that are impacted under that severe thunderstorm warning. Let's put a little bit of a track on this if you're watching. Again, we've got that severe thunderstorm warning. I don't have a hail tie. Might need to get that and continue to develop that. So Let me take a look at something here real quick. There we go. So there's a look at Hall heating cooling mega Doppler, that thunderstorm popping up and moving off to the east. We'll take a look here at on weather 2. Let's go ahead and do a track on this. So we'll take a look at the radar in just a second. And by the way, just to let you know, there's no essentially no threat of tornadoes anymore. The storm is starting to weaken, even though it's getting close to nighttime. The low-level jet's increasing. So this is a look at live Doppler radar. We've got some heavy rain that's falling across parts of northwest Arkansas, not severe. How about lightning? Yes, there is some lightning, so that's causing an issue as they held the doors until 6:30 for the Walmart amp. And in fact, why don't we do this? If we have that camera working at the Pinnacle Parkway Towers, we can take a look and see what the scene is like. And nope, that camera went down again. Boy, we have got to fix that. Something is up with that camera going up and down and up and down. And Chris, our IT guy, is going to have to work on that for sure, because that is unacceptable how it keeps going in and out. So here's I'm going to bring up Miss Laura's historic site here real quick, and we'll take a look at this cell that's coming in. So good news is it's on a weakening trend. So that's definitely some good news. We can actually see the leading edge of the storm. Let me bring this up for you and show you as the storm is starting to move into the river valley. So here's the Fort Smith, Miss Laura's historic site. So Highway 64. There you see the leading edge of the storm, and you can see the base of the thunderstorm. That's not lightning flashes. That's off that cell tower. That was a lightning flash, though. Can definitely see that. And that's the base of the thunderstorm that's approaching. So I just wanted to let you know that I was at a discipleship group just right down the street. I was at First Baptist Fayetteville, and we have a discipleship group on Sunday evenings. Started that up here last week, and that goes all the way through the fall and winter and into spring and ends for the school year. But I'm just letting you know that we were doing that. I was watching that storm closely, and I was like, you know what? I need to hop on this because it's approaching Fort Smith. It continues to remain severe, and that's why I'm providing this update. Do I expect this to be a long Facebook Live? Probably not. But if you do have questions about the weather and you want to kind of know what's ahead, we've got all those details coming up, and I'll give you all that information. So you go ahead and ask some questions, and I'll answer that. We got an active one. There's no doubt about that. Multiple chances for showers and storms ahead. Now, let's do this. You might be wondering where exactly that storm is tracking. So let's work our way down from northwest Arkansas to the river valley. And this is where the temperature is just a little bit warmer. We're looking at lower 80s, upper 70s. That's a little more fuel for these thunderstorms, a little bit of a boundary there. And so that's why those storms are a little stronger. Now, if we look at the exact speed of this, we'll see the speed of the storm is moving east at 15 miles per hour. So let's do a track on this. These storms have been very slow moving, which, by the way, is the reason there was a flash flood warning, too. So we move it east at about an hour and a half, and here you get to see some of the areas that are going to be impacted as that cell is basically moving, I think, almost due east. Let's look. Yeah, pretty much due east. So southern Fort Smith, right around by the regional airport, will be getting some decent rain as this storm comes in. Now, another thing is, too, is sometimes when it gets closer to the storm, and this will be a great example of this, the hail can shrink down or appears to be shrinking down in size. Now, I got to show you this. So basically think of this way. When the radar is really, really, really close to the storm, I kind of gave this reference to Blaze. So if I'm like right next to the radar and it's at its highest point, it can only get to about my chin. But if I'm farther away from the radar, the highest point will be getting over the storm. So it's able to get the entire depth of the storm. Now, how do we illustrate that with the radar and mega Doppler? I'll show you. We're going to do what's called a 3D volumetric scan. We're going to put that on max 1. And what we're going to do is call the volumetric scan and a volumetric display. And you're going to see this storm actually getting sliced in half. So stand by as we bring this up full. So this is Hall Heating Cooling Mega Doppler. Whoa, what's going on here? Stop. Oh, okay, stand by it. Bring this up full, and then you'll notice here as I come over here and I'll adjust the reflectivity. Sometimes when you have a dual screen on this, it's kind of hard to see. But we'll show you here in just a second. There we go. So here's a look at the storm. I want to bring this over here too so you can see, so I can adjust this while I'm on the air or when I'm live streaming. So this right here represents the storm in 3D volumetric scan. So if we go look at all of the DBZ or the returns, here's a look at the storm, and that's the radar as it spins around and then tilts up. So it's not able to get the full volumetric display, and therefore the hail core will be decreasing according to this. Now, we'll switch radars. We'll see what it looks like from Tulsa, but this is the one from Fort Smith. And so that kind of shows you how the radar doesn't get all the way through the storm. Even the largest returns, see that? So that shows you on the largest returns, it still isn't getting there. And so that's why this looks like it's a pretty intense core, but then you look at the hail size, it's not as big because the reflectivity doesn't get as high up into the air. So therefore, it's underestimating the size of the hail. So if we go back to this, now we look at the reflectivity, we look at the probability of severe hail and the maximum estimated hail size, you can see it shows up to be pretty small. Notice how that decreased in size. Sometimes that's due to the storm weakening, but also sometimes that's due to the storm getting closer to the radar. So let's switch radars. Let's go from Tulsa and let's see what the hail core really looks like. So we are here for the rest of the day. Okay, so Fort Smith is getting rain, and I'm just kind of basically describing that all in detail by just looking at that. So while the radar starts to update and shows you the newest reflectivity, and again, the storm does appear to be on a weakening trend, so that's good news. And in fact, it's weakened maybe so much that there's not even a severe thunderstorm warning anymore. And so we'll see. Now, as you'll see, here's the radar from Tulsa, from the Tulsa area, and now you see that the storm, obviously, there's no more scans in there anymore. So it shows you that the storm is able to get the whole thing. Let me bring that up full for you so you can see. So again, that's that storm, and that's from a different radar. So this storm is weakened, not severe anymore. That's good news, but definitely some heavy rain going to be coming into Fort Smith, and some small hail is still possible. We're talking maybe ½ inch at the very largest. So the storm's beginning to weaken and die out, and that's good news. But I just wanted to provide an update. Also, the potential for extremely heavy rain. In fact, as we bring up weather 1 here, we'll bring up max 2, and I will show you the amount of precipitation that's fallen over the last few hours. So here's a look at that cell, and then there's where the flash flood warning was issued. So this is a little bit south of Vian. So Regina, yes, you've got some rain that's coming in. So there's that. And then you see the heavy rain that's coming into Fort Smith. So how much rain is that? That's going to be focused right on the airport, by the way, too. I see the question about Gabrielle. We'll look at Gabrielle, if it's a hurricane or not. Even if it is, I don't think it's going to be impacting the United States. But to be fair, I really haven't looked at a whole lot of the tropical weather or anything like that. So let's see here what we've got for Gabrielle, because I honestly don't know. And for good reason. Was busy doing stuff, yeah. Gabrielle is now a hurricane, but guess what? Going right back out to sea. Not a factor at all. Moving out to sea, and not even really impacting, honestly, anything except for shipping lanes and fish. And it doesn't even get close to Bermuda either. So those are all good things. It'll remain east of Bermuda. So yeah, what a quiet hurricane season. Well, and that's for good reason. Because if we look at the weather pattern lately, we've got a lot of jet stream energy that's dipping south, and that's going to allow those storms to just track off to the east. So let me show you that real quick. All right, so here's a look at the jet stream. We'll bring this up full and I'll show you how this looks. So stand by. I could kind of explain it like this. So obviously a lot of energy on the jet stream. This is one of the reasons that these storms are a little more intense. This is the reason that we've seen such heavy rain. If we move along in time, what you will notice is that now we're starting to get some pretty substantial energy. Look at this, zonal flow. So you got zonal flow coming in, and that's going to lead to some thunderstorms and pretty intense ones. That's a lot of jet stream energy. You've got a merging of the polar and subtropical jet both, and then the nose of the jet's coming over. So I think Tuesday could be pretty intense in terms of thunderstorms and thunderstorm activity. And I'll talk more about that coming up on the news tonight. Before I do, what I wanted to do is show you here as we bring up the severe weather risk, and we're going to do this for day 3. So the day 3 convective outlook, which will probably be adjusted and manipulated several times, is this right here. There's that storm, not severe anymore, watching it closely in Fort Smith. But this is the severe weather risk, and this is the day 3 convective outlook. And you'll notice that we have what's called a marginal threat over the entire area, but a little more intense or a little more energy. A boundary could possibly be, and you got medium probabilities there. Before that, you've got this system that comes through. We'll look at the tornado risk, and there is something that's out there. You notice how that basically covers northern Oklahoma. So this is for Monday morning into Tuesday morning. A lot of the energy Tuesday will be over us. Monday, it will be to the west of us. We'll look at the hail threat and damaging wind potential. And then right now, the new risk will be updated shortly. I don't think we're going to have any more severe weather. They might continue it in the River Valley, but they'll probably crop it out of northwest Arkansas. And so there's the wind and the hail threat. Now, we did have a couple of reports here. I'll bring this up and we'll take a look at these 2 reports. It's some strong winds that were reported in Jamesville in the county of Muskogee. And you can see that was 65 miles per hour winds that were recorded. And then we'll take a look at this report. And this is actually some strong winds in Warner, not Doug Warner, but Warner in Muskogee County. And that was a little before 4 o'clock. So that was that really intense storm that had a little more energy to work with. But here's what I want to show you is the precipitation. So if we look at the day 1 excessive rainfall forecast, we've got essentially a level 2. The day 2 has a level 1, and then the day 3 has a large level 2. Now, typically, when you see something like that, and it's that large, that will mean that somewhere there will be a moderate risk that's issued, most likely, when you have a day 3 like that far out. If we look at the precipitation forecast, as this pops up on the screen and populates, you will see quite a bit of rain. Now, keep in mind the Weather Prediction Center products don't get issued and updated as much over the weekend. So this could be from Friday's outlook. I know the CPC does not issue any major updates over the weekend, but you're looking at some really, really heavy rain. Now, how does that look in terms of what the forecast is? And we're going to have the newest HRRR coming out here shortly. There just really aren't many high-resolution models to look at anymore, besides the CAMs, but they really aren't that great. So we've got the storms coming through tonight. We have additional rounds of storms in the River Valley tomorrow morning, some light rain in northwest Arkansas, but this is what we're talking about Tuesday. See this? A lot of energy coming in, and that's some heavy rain. And that heavy rain could lead to the potential for flash flooding, considering we're already kind of there. And if we look at the precipitation forecasts, we'll take a look here. Stand by. So this is going to be okay. Here's the rain extended on the HRRR. So wait till this loads up here and turn black because it's loading up. Well, hold on just a sec. There we go. Okay. I love to see these totals because I actually haven't looked at this. So here's the rain throughout the night, into the morning, additional rain popping up. We all know that this isn't perfect, but this is where the heavy rain comes in. So as of there, which is still raining, it shows over 2 inches of rain. That's on top of what we've already seen. And then we look at these computer models for the rain forecast. Guess we really don't have that. Let's see here real quick. The 4-panel for rain totals. There we go. So for some reason, the graph wasn't populating, maybe because it needed to be updated or something like that, but not showing up. So yeah, there's not correct model. Let me scroll up here. I don't know why that's not updating. I'll have to look at that and see what's going on. One quick check of that storm that's in the river valley coming in, but not severe, so that's good. So after that moves through, we'll pretty much shut this down. But yeah, right on the south side of Fort Smith, some really heavy rain coming down. We'll look at an iDrive, 18 NAM 3 kilometer goes nuts. Yeah, we'll look at that here in just a second. I believe it. I mean, look at all that energy it's coming in. So let's go back to this after we get off the graph. Okay, so here is the European. Keep in mind, not a high resolution model, but look at the total in Grove. That shows you what this system could be capable of doing. So we have that potential to bring heavy rain, 4.82. We look at this one, that's got 3.58 in Harrison. So it shows you somewhere there's a signal of really, really heavy rain. Guess what? That heavy rain that happened this morning, it was right over Pinnacle Country Club, and it was right over Rogers. Now that's the NAM, not 3 kilometer, but the NAM 12 kilometer or 20 kilometer, which shows that rain total. But let's look at the NAM 3 kilometer, and let's see how much rain that has. So let's do a wide view here before I load up the close-up view. So here's what we got right now. I think that's actually doing a pretty good job showing showers and storms, but not necessarily super strong. There's overnight more storms in the river valley, not as much in northwest Arkansas. That makes sense with the boundary. Here's Tuesday morning. Look at that training event. Thunderstorms popping up, and then more storms. And whoa, now that is pretty impressive stuff right there. Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. This is when that severe could be. So we could have a round in the morning on Tuesday, followed by an additional round Wednesday morning. And those are pretty intense. That's when the model runs out, according to this. Let's look at the Cape on the NAM 3 kilometer. And so I imagine that Cape is going to be going up. Let's see what we got as that populates. So no bad weather in northwest Arkansas. So, and what's the weather looking like in Fayetteville? So I think a little bit of light rain tomorrow morning, but I think the majority of it will be in the river valley. So here's the instability for Tuesday. Let's see if that gradient returns back to the north. Yeah, you can see the instability that's there, but then the storms come through and try to choke that off. So we'll see if that actually comes true. But there's all that instability, and now the instability is south and remains south. So yes, there will absolutely be concerns for flash flooding. Again, we showed you that excessive rainfall forecast outlook. The excessive rainfall forecast shows the probability of widespread flooding, scattered flash floods, isolated floods. And if you missed it earlier, I'll bring that up in the background so you can see that. But we are expecting some, I think, some flooding, especially Tuesday. Tuesday will be the worst day, Tuesday into Wednesday morning. And that's why on this, and you can see it behind me, this is the excessive rainfall outlook. Large area, the entire area is under a level 2, slight risk for excessive rainfall. Okay, guys, one last look at our WeatherBug network camera from Fort Smith Public Library. It's rain, a little bit of small hail, but it's not severe. So I think that we can shut this live stream down. But Sean, yes, Gabrielle is a hurricane. Gabrielle is moving away from land, and we just have too much jet stream energy to provide landfalling hurricanes. So that's great. Great news. Hopefully it remains quiet. Hopefully it remains basically uneventful. Okay, guys, I'm going to shut it down. I've got to put together the forecast. I got to make the 7-day. I got to eat, too. I'm pretty hungry. But it looks like the storms are weakening, dying off in the river valley. One more look here at Heil Heating Cooling Mega Doppler. Yes, we got a cluster of storms. It's not severe. That flash flood warning is going for another 1 hour and 34 minutes. And then there's a storm that's coming into northwest Arkansas right now. And that right there is in southwestern Benton County. So I can bring that up. You can see it right there on Heil Heating Cooling Mega Doppler. Not severe, but a little bit of heavy rain coming into Rogers. And guess what? That's not great for the concert. And guess what? There's a lightning strike just on cue. Bring that up. Get to see that full. So there's that storm that's coming in. All right, getting a Baja Blast. That sounds good. I think I might have to get that. Might have to go to Taco Bell, get me a little Baja Blast Freezy. That sounds pretty tasty. Now, this is not Baja Blast energy, but definitely a lot of southwest and westerly zonal flow with a very, very active weather pattern. Okay, guys, I'm going to shut this live stream down. We'll have the latest forecast on tonight. Josh Rugger will be in tomorrow morning. We'll be watching this, but just get ready for really heavy rain Tuesday morning, some severe weather overnight Tuesday into Wednesday morning that could be strongest we've seen in quite some time. It makes sense. It's late September. We're starting to transition. Temperatures are going to be in the 70s, much cooler than previously thought by a lot of forecasts. We had upper 70s for a while, but and then clears out for the weekend. Looks great for Notre Dame versus Arkansas for 11 a.m. kickoff. Tailgating should be nice. And so storm fuel for Monday, it's definitely there. So we'll talk more about that on the news tonight, but we showed that actually not too long ago. So the storm fuel will be there and definitely in place. So something to watch. Monday, not really as much, but Thursday, the system starts to push out, but still some storms possible. Okay, guys, God bless. Thank you for watching. Take care, and we will see you tonight on the news. If not, have a great rest of your Sunday. Thanks for watching.